Hi, I'm Anna and I'm going to be interviewing my local sporting hero Adrian Patterson, and I'm going to start off by asking a few questions. Can you describe where you grew up and what was it like?
I grew up in North Street Flats in the early 1980s, and then I moved on to High Street. But North Street Flats was like a concrete jungle. There was very little to do about it. Only played tag and flag for the Halloween bonfire was maybe one of the highlights of a year. But when I was younger, what I done was to keep me occupied was I joined the boxing club, and the boxing club was just up in Church Street behind Courtney's pub. There was a boxing club there called St Patrick's Amateur Boxing Club, and that's where I spent quite a lot of my time in my young days. And I also played with your uncle and your mummy, who would have been quite good friends of mine during those days as well.
What school did you go to and how was your school life?
I went to Abbey Primary school when I was younger. Miss Toner was my teacher from P1 to P7, and then Mrs. O'Connell was my teacher from P3 or P1 to P3, and then P3 to P7 was Miss O'Connell. Great days, probably the best days of your life is the school days. You probably not know it, you don't realise it until you get older. That's where you make your best friends and friends right through till the current day. The guy that actually runs Rapture with me, me and him went from primary one together right through to university. So we have maintained a relationship, and still today he remains my best friend. But school was a great time. Main thing in school that we done was play football with the juice cartons full of crisp packets. We couldn't really afford a football. It's a juice packet full of crisp packets and stuffed it in to make a wee small sort of ball. We played football. That was both in the Abbey Primary and the Abbey Grammar School. Where more so in the Abbey Grammar School, it was more focused on Gaelic football, and a lot of my friends were Gaelic footballers. And I went on, a couple of them went on to win the All-Ireland Senior Cup, or Sam Maguire with the likes of Oisin McConville was one of the main people that won the influences in the Armagh team. He was in my school at the Abbey Grammar. Shane Mahallen and Cahill Royce and all them other guys were all O'Deal Rooks and the McIntyres were all both a year older and a year below me. So quite, I was rubbing shoulders with quite big celebrities back then that we didn't know they were going to be celebrities, but they ended up being celebrities in local GA fraternity.
Yeah. What age did you gain an interest in boxing?
I became interested in boxing at an early age. I started boxing when I was 8 years old. My first competitive fight when I was 8 years old, which I lost against another Newry man. Out of all the 200 fights I've had, I've been beat I think 6 or 7 times. One of them was by a Newry boy, a boy from Ballcraft called Shane Rogers. So it was again 8 year old, and I continue boxing now. I'm a boxing coach now, so I'm a boxing quite a number of years.
Did you enjoy any other sports other than boxing?
I did running with my uncle Eamon when I was younger, but the main sport that I enjoyed other than boxing was football. I love football. I actually love football more than I love boxing, but I was better at boxing than I was at football. That's why I stuck at the boxing. I played a game of football in Newry Showgrounds in the Mid-Ulster Cup semi-finals. The night before I went away to where the Ulster team went, for the Ulster team the next day to box against Austria in Austria. Now that would be unheard of. You wouldn't be allowed to do it because boxing coaches just say no way you're playing a game of football. But if any of my coaches at the time, I love football that much, if any coaches at the time told me not to play football, I wouldn't have boxed. So I love football every bit as much, if not more, than I love boxing.
Was there a person that influenced you to get involved in boxing? If so, how did they?
My father has been boxing all his life. He started boxing the game when he was 8 years old. I know the whole story of it and how it started up. But from when I was a young guy, he always had his props up, running about the house, shadow boxing me and me shadow boxing him. So, and he's still involved in boxing at the moment. He can't train anybody, but he can give his knowledge on it. He's one of the most technically knowledgeable people in Ireland. They'd be up there with the high performance coaches such as Billy Walsh and John Conlon and Nicholas Cruz Hernandez and Jerry Story. My father would know as much technically as them guys would. So from an early age I seen boxing in the house when my daddy messing about with me, and I continued it on, he's continued it on, and the two of us in the same club together. So he would be probably the biggest influence in my life in boxing.
Did you suffer any injuries throughout your career, and did they have an effect on you?
The biggest injury I suffered was in 1996. I was supposed to go to the Olympic qualifiers in Atlanta. Well, the Olympic qualifiers were in Belarus. I was supposed to go over there to try and qualify for the Olympics, but unfortunately I had a hand injury. I cut myself on Lindsay Hill. I fell and cut myself on glass, and it put me out of the Olympic qualifiers. But I got back on the bike as soon as my hand mended. I took a couple of months off, and I was back on the bike, and I went to South Africa that November in the Commonwealth Boxing Championships, and I got the silver medal then.
I've heard you went to the Commonwealth Games. How was that experience for you?
The Commonwealth Games, as I just mentioned, the Commonwealth Boxing Championships are in 1996. The Commonwealth Games and the Commonwealth Boxing Championships are every 2 years. So 94 was actually the Commonwealth Games. It was in Victoria, British Columbia, Victoria in Canada. I was only 18 at the time, so I was still very young to be involved in such a big competition. But obviously at the time I was overwhelmed. Probably one of the most amazing times in my life, other than getting married and getting adopting my wee baby boy on the day of his adoption day. They would come next to the Commonwealth Games. Would come next to them. The opening ceremony, and maybe better so, the opening ceremony you've been nervous because you know you're boxing and you're fearful as well and frightful. But the closing ceremony, you know, everything's over and you just can't wait to go for a party. So the closing ceremony was a big time at that time, and I always remember whenever the fireworks went off, all the athletes run onto the pitch. So it was a magnificent achievement and a time of my life, and hopefully sometime whenever my wee boy's up, he's older, and when he gets older, I'll have more time. And my ambition is to either go as a coach to the Commonwealth Games or go as a coach to the Olympics.
Who would your sporting hero be?
Boy, you wouldn't know. I don't know if any of you should know him as well. You quite possibly would know him. A guy called Wayne McCullough. You know him, no? Wayne McCullough. Pocket Rocket, yeah. Wayne McCullough was my sporting hero because when I was young, I always looked up to him. He was a couple of years older than me, and I always looked up to him. I thought he was a magnificent boxer because I've seen him boxing on loads of occasions. And most importantly, in the 1992 Olympic Games, he got to the final of the Olympic Games. On the third, he boxed a boy called Joel Casamayor, a Cuban boxer, and he actually got his jaw broken at the end of the second round, and this came first hand from his cornerman, Austin Carruth. He's in rest in peace at the moment, he's in heaven. He told me that they touched his face and he pulled back on his face, and after the fight they done a X-ray on him. His jawbone was shattered in 2 places, but he continued to fight on. And that the last round of the fight was actually his best round, and he actually won the last round and lost the first 2 rounds. He actually ended up getting the silver medal then. He's done what very few people has ever done. He's went to another country and took a world title of the guy that was Japanese champion at the time. I think it was 1997. He took the world title of a Japanese boxer, the WBC title, which I'm not sure if any Irish boxers ever done that, went to another country and took the title off another boxer. So yes, Wayne McCullough was my sporting hero.
If you were to do it all again, would you change anything or do anything different?
Would I change anything? Yes, I would focus more on the psychological end of boxing. Now I'm being involved with boxing. There's a lot more structure to boxing now. High performance. You probably experience it in football. There's more structure to football. There's the dad. Back then you were told to watch your dad. You know Dad Tyson, but we had now it's all about mental health, mental preparation, your food, your strength conditioning, your rest periods. So that wasn't focused on back then. We were just Neanderthals. We went out and trained on the beach and back into the house, and then if we were sore we got a physio. Nowadays sort of boxers and footballers now are sort of prima donnas, where if they think they've got a twinge they want to get a physio. But back then it was only unless you had really bad pain you got a physio. But now, thinking back, I would like to focus more on preparing mentally, getting prepared mentally for my boxing, and maybe talking to psychologists and getting sports psychologists involved in me. I think I would have done a hell of a lot better than what I did in my boxing if I had been better mentally prepared.
Do you have any advice for someone who would want a career in boxing?
Yes, it's a tough sport, very tough sport. If you get to 16 and you feel it's not for you, don't do it, because you'll end up getting hurt. But as a young guys from 11 to 16, it's a great sport to get involved with, because number one, it gives a lot of young boxers a lot of confidence. Coming from a coaching background, I've seen kids that are very shy, really shy, and a couple of kids have come to the club and they've done 2 laps at the club and started crying. I've went home, but I've seen them coming back the next night, which is a big plus as a boxing coach. It touches you to see a kid coming back. So that kid, and these 3 or 4 kids in particular stick out in my mind, that's done them a lot of their confidence, a lot of good, especially when young kids go in the ring for the first time, they come out crying and come back again. Them guys I've seen now, they've developed into great strong men and great, they seem quite confident. So young kids from 7-year-olds up till 15 get involved in boxing, because it's really great preparation for future life, because you get involved in dad and watching your dad and how to discipline yourself. But then for the kids that are 16 that have been in boxing, they need to know whether boxing's for them or not, because it's a really tough sport and they really need to decide whether it's for them or not, because it's big punching and you can get hurt.
Yep, thank you for doing this interview with me.
Thank you, Anna.